welcome back to Writing with Witches. This is episode 3, and today, I'm Leona Urbansky,
And I'm Nicole
and
Autumn.
here we go.
Totally
We
cut you
got it,
off. My bad.
dude. No, it's fine. We're syncing up after 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So today, well, as usual, a little bit of what our podcast is about. Writing with Witches. We are going to be talking about writing books or short stories. We've both been on a short story kick lately,
We have.
which we will have news about that and why we're on a short story kick later.
Yes.
And also witchcraft, because we are both witches and we both practice, and we feel like there is definitely a Venn diagram going on of it's not a heart, it's the Venn diagram. Uh or it could be something else
It could
depending
be
on
a
what
little
kinds of
bit of a
books you
heart.
read.
I mean, the loops could overlap.
um We feel that people do both write books and practice witchcraft, as evidence. There's at least 2 of us. I know there's more. So,
Oh, yeah. I know that there are a good handful of authors that I know I follow that are very spiritual or witchy. So it definitely
take your
overlaps for
pick.
sure.
Yeah. So, today we are continuing on our official book writing arc. The last arc we talked about was brainstorming, which was some fun ideas on if you don't already have a story in your head, or you need to take a break from your current project and just need some ideas to help you start flowing. Um, that's a good episode for that. We threw out a lot of different ways to kind of just find stories and find ways to what stories to tell,
Yeah.
just in various ways, so that you can, you know, get past whatever writer's block you might be going through, or you just want to start a new project and you don't have anything right there waiting for you to start on.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I
Finding
had that
inspiration in
problem.
all. Yeah, right. I have a freaking folder full of ideas, and I'm like, "Oh, there's so many. I don't
I
know
think
where
we
to pick."
think we both have a library of ideas that are just waiting.
Yep. So I
So yeah,
believe we're talking about planning this episode.
I was going to get there, I promise,
Yeah.
but
No, you're
I will leave that to you.
fine. Just because I have the outline right here, and I'm like, okay,
You do.
planning.
uh And to clarify, when I say, or we say, planning, it's not just, what you typically think of. You have to write a detailed outline. We're talking about overall planning. Like, even if you're a pantser, like lovely Nicole is about writing, she still plans some stuff, because I've
Yeah.
had discussions with her about it.
Yep.
Because you still have to figure some things out. And even though it may only be like 2 sentences in the entire book, you did this whole paragraph of stuff to make sure that you had it set up in your head. So we're talking about overall planning for the book, not just the story itself, which kind of sounds odd, but I think you get what I mean.
Oh, yeah. I get it. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into the whole book process besides the specific details. Just the overall point A to point B. Then you have all the little, well, I guess point A to Z, whatever. There's a lot of other letters
Yeah,
between there,
you got the
you
whole
know?
alphabet going.
Yeah. So to start off the planning episode, we can talk about our book news, which I don't really have much because at this point I'd finished the book and now it's sitting and it's marinating. So we're just gonna let it do its thing. It's gotta rest for a little bit so I can forget it and go back with fresh eyes. Even though
That's totally
I
fair.
could not tell you what happens within the first 10 chapters of this last book because I really don't remember. But in the meantime, we've picked up short stories. So we've started writing a short story, and mine is about an assassin. So working a little bit on that. But other than that, that's the only book news I really have is just the short story work that I'm doing.
Well, then I guess I'm just gonna drop a brick into that nice, smooth uh thing you've got going on. I promised I wouldn't, but I am going to have to change publishing date for Fire Magic. I have a lot going on in my life right now. I just started a new job. We're having to move, do that. I'm doing grad school right now. And I want to do justice to this book. And I feel like to do justice to this book, that the Kickstarter, while it's not necessary, would be really, really helpful in it reaching a wider audience, and we can really give it the level of detail to like the getting the cover art. I wanted to do a special edition with like sprayed edges. I wanted to do all kinds of fun little rewards and perks that I think would really be fun to go with it. And I need more time to really be able to get that Kickstarter up and off the ground. So I am not stopping any work on the book. I am still doing revisions. I am hoping to have the revisions done by October. I haven't decided on a time for the Kickstarter yet. I will keep you all in the loop on that. But in the meantime, I have set up a email list, and once a month, possibly more, I am going to be emailing out small excerpts of the book, or we might go into a deep dive of a character or a part of the world that you normally wouldn't see if you read just the book on its own. And so we're going to giving all of these little Easter eggs so that when you are able to read the full book, you can be like, oh, I know what that means, even though it's not really mentioned in the book, but I know where this is coming from and that kind of thing. So we will put that link in the description so that please go sign up for it. And that way you're also going to be kept in the loop on any Kickstarter news, and maybe we can do cover art reveals as we get forward with it. And yeah, I'd really appreciate it. So
I
that's
am
where we're
really
at.
bad. I am really bad at my newsletter. Like I have it and people have signed up and I'm like, I forgot about it. I
I,
really
I
should
have been
get on that.
I have been firmly instructed by my friend, who is, as far as I'm concerned, a Kickstarter expert, because she's done 4 and 3 of them has succeeded very well.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, she's done 4 Kickstarters. 3 of them were fully funded, along with some stretch goals. Um,
Nice.
and she said, you take once a month on your calendar and get that email out
Yeah.
to build the audience to bring that Kickstarter to life, because she's like, you need spread the word,
Yeah.
and the more people you have that are sharing that news. So yes, please share. And please share our podcast to anyone that you think might enjoy it. We'd really
Yes.
appreciate it. And subscribe and leave reviews, and we would love you. We love you anyway, but that's just the
We would love you more.
yeah, we love you most. um just to help us share and get this out to, we do this to give you guys ideas and to help you write. and
Yeah.
and the more people know about it, the more people that might get uh some kind of help, and that's the goal ultimately.
Yeah. So
So
should we
now that I'm done with my begging and pleading,
please please follow my
please
newsletter. I'm
follow the
begging you.
podcast.
um so should
I
we
will
get
give you
started?
things.
Get started with the planning.
Yes, I think that
Okay.
is a wonderful idea.
So the first topic is planning tools. Certain things you could use that will help you get your story started. So there's story prompts that you can use, which we've used just with our short
Mm-hmm.
story. Even as simple as those Instagram ones where it's pause to get your picture or pause for this topic. And hey, that's where we started. And I'm like, dang, this is actually pretty good. It's got some inspiration there.
And I know we talked about it in the brainstorming episode, and I feel like it was also important in this one in planning though, because maybe you have a character in mind and you're like, where are they? What world are they in? And I need some ideas, and it's just not coming to you. You can still use this prompt. And I know there's some prompts out there that are like, okay, what part do you want us to generate? Do you want us to generate the plot? Do you want us to generate the world? Do you want us to generate the character? So you can be like, I have this and I have this. I need this piece of the puzzle. So
Yeah.
those are good for that. Or even if you get one that's like the Instagram one that we just talked about, you can like just discard the part that you already have.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, hey, this would work. Or you can be like, oh, that's a whole new story.
Yeah. And I just want to put this out here because this has been a hot, hot topic. Um, this is not generative AI that we're talking
No,
about. No, no, no. We're not saying, hey, go use Chat GPT or these other. No, 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 no. No AIs. These
no.
are things that other people have either curated or it is a random generated list that you just click, not generative AI. We have
It
put our
tells
foot down as firmly opposed to that one.
it tells you how anti-AI that I am. That I'm glad you said something, because it did not even occur to me, because I just do not, I refuse to think about it
Yeah.
and utilize it.
I mean,
So
AI has its
100%
place.
what she said.
Yes, it has its place, not in the creative fields. That's all I have to
No.
say. Like computer programming, I get it. It tests out algorithms and doctors could use it for whatever. Scientists, there's its purpose, but not creative. So,
We want the eye to do the things that we don't want to do, so we have time to go do the creative things that we want to do, not
yeah.
the other way around.
Or it's something, like I said, if it's in the science field, something that would take months and months and months to, you know, test, or even computer programming, testing formulas or data or whatever, that's different because you've already put in the work. It's just testing to see if it will work, without having to
Right.
take forever to do it yourself. So, yes.
Something that is just quite literally beyond human comprehension, like the machine that they were able to utilize that can identify cancer cells. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't see that no matter how good you get with a microscope.
Yeah.
Human eye can't decipher that.
Exactly. Good reason for AI, not creative. Um, but I wanted to
Tangent
throw that
done. We
out
will not get
there.
on the soapbox.
I know. I'll stop myself there, but it's been a hot topic right now on like
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok because a lot of authors have come out, or a couple have come out and said, "Yeah, I use AI to write my books." And we're like, "That's not you writing your book, boo-boo." Like
No.
that's
Yeah, it
cheating.
is not.
And stealing. So, yeah. I'll stop it there or I could keep going.
We
um
could. That could be a whole episode, man.
it really could. It really really could. Um, Another planning tool is questionnaires. Having these questions that make you think, okay, what are my characters' flaws or attributes or fears? You know, those type of questions, sometimes you have to sit there and be like, ooh, I don't know. Because knowing those could definitely change the way you write your story. You know, if you have a character that's in an underwater world, they're not going to be afraid of drowning. They live in water. So it's stuff like that, or you could have that character that is afraid of drowning and they live in water, but that would be just, how do you survive
That'd
that?
be
Like,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know how that would work.
And that kind of ties into the next one where I put in about character sheets, and
Yeah.
it questionnaires and character sheets, yes, definitely have some overlap, but also questionnaires to me are also kind of like what events are going to happen, what what
Yeah.
is going to prompt the event, what is going to be the big reveal, what that kind of thing, as well as
Yeah.
character sheets. Because character sheets, you can go quite a bit more granular, and like there
Yeah.
are tons of ready-made character sheets out there. I'm not talking just D&D stuff, although that's a good starting point if
It is a
that's where
good
you want
starting
to go.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially
But
if
there's
you
also
are
ones
in the
that are out there
fantasy
for
genre.
authors.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
for sure. Yeah.
Totally
No,
overlapping
no, it's
you.
fine.
But
It's
I was just
fine.
going to say, it is a really good place to start for fantasy writers because it has the things like race, um, oh my gosh, blanking,
Class.
class, background. You have that, or your alignments. So all those things that you would consider in fantasy, it's already there. So
Mhm.
it's definitely helpful.
Yeah. And if you're like, I just need this one character that pops in that serves this purpose. There's ready-made character sheets out there that you can be like, oh hey, I just have to jig a little here and jag a little there, and it's good to go.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's another reason to use them.
I mean, I've even seen character sheets where you roll dice and there's like a list of characters and it's like if you roll a 6, well now your character's, a djinn or a tiefling or whatever. If I mean, this is D&D talking, but
Yeah.
you know, it's that simple. It could be as simple as what color is your character's hair going to be, or their eye color, or are they tall, or are they short? I mean, and that could help you generate just a side character. You're like, well, there's not going to be
From
much,
your mind.
yeah, from your mind, but you're still using, a sheet essentially. But it's just another way of helping you. So you're not like, okay, well, all my characters have brown hair and blue eyes or green eyes, or they all look the frickin' same now. So it just helps to give you some variety.
And it also, I actually just saw an Instagram reel where this woman was complaining, not complaining, but she was bringing up the point she was reading a relatively popular fantasy novel by a man. And no, I don't remember the title, or I would say it. I'm not that person. I honestly don't remember the title.
Yeah.
And it was a very much a world building book. And you met one woman, you did not meet another woman until like 220 character pages later.
Oh my lord.
And it's like, that's half the population, right? So having these character sheets and this randomization will help you from running into that problem. Oh,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. I could see that being a problem. It's like every character
Yeah.
they meet is a man. You're like, I don't know.
I mean, unless there's a valid reason for it, like they're at a men's convent, not convent, monastery.
I'm like, are they monks?
Wrong words. Wrong word. Men's monastery with only men,
Yeah.
you know, then okay, I can understand that. That's a good reason for it.
Yeah.
Then would I read the book? Probably not.
No, probably not. So the next one would be travel brochures because sometimes finding inspiration for building a world, you kind of need a little something to go off of, especially if you are placing it in our world, right? If you're and you want to write about Australia but you've never been there, travel brochures is a good way to start because then you could look up common animals or what it looks like, what to expect, places that are there.
So I was going to attempt to write a story set in Mongolia.
Oh
And
wow.
I went and I started looking up all of the tourism websites, and I still follow the Facebook page for the official Mongolian government, and I still follow a lot of the historical societies for it, and I read a bunch of books on it. And did I ever actually write the book? No, but it was really fascinating research.
Oh, I'm sure you probably learned a lot.
I did.
I mean,
So
even using
it's
something as simple as Google Maps, right? Just
yeah.
zooming in, seeing what things look like on a street basis, can kind of give you a feel of what an area looks like. I mean, mine is set in Virginia in one point, and I'm like, okay, I've been there, I've lived there. I live here now, but I'm like, okay, well, where can this be? What would an hour of travel look like from one spot to another? Where would that place me in all directions? Just kind of really just looking around an area can help a lot too. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Throat tickle.
So yeah, and on the other hand of this is maybe you like making up travel brochures and you have this fantasy world in your head and you just you like that kind of creative outlet. Go make a travel brochure for your world. It's something you can reference back to. You could include it as kind of a fun insert in a later book, or maybe your characters are literally looking at a travel brochure in their
Yeah.
world you can use later,
And that could also be
so
something you send out to your mailing list. Like, hey, this is
uh-huh.
something that goes
Is that
along
a
with
hint?
it. And so it's a hint, hint. It's a fun little thing that goes along with it that's extra. Just gives the people something to look at and reference themselves, you know?
And it's something for you to reference too, because like you said, um like in my world, I start out in this one tiny village that you never go to again, but it's referenced constantly back because
Mm-hmm.
that's where the story started. So
Yeah.
honestly, making a travel brochure for my world wouldn't be a bad idea because the first location would be that silly little village that didn't in well, um, just to
No.
remember what it was like as I go
It was
as
bad.
I go back. Spoilers.
It's not a spoiler. It happens in the first chapter.
No, it's true. It's true. It's
But
it's on the back.
it
It's on the
doesn't it
back placket.
it doesn't end well.
No, I almost feel bad. Not really.
I was gonna say, no, you don't.
I had to start the story somehow.
Yeah. Um, so next would also be world maps. So planning out your world is sometimes a lot to do, and just being able to sit down and say, okay, what does this look like? Can help you further down the line of, okay, well, my character's traveling from here to here. How long is that going to take? What are they encountering on this journey? Are there mountains? Is it a forest? Is it ocean, rivers involved? So having that and planning that out can help. And I know one method that I've seen is the rice method, where you just pour rice on a paper and you kind of just trace the outline of it. And that'll give you a unique map to start with. I've considered doing it because I have no idea what my worlds look like.
A similar one to that is take a picture of a parking lot while the ice is melting.
Oh,
And it
okay.
gives you all of the little. And to me, it's also a good idea to have a rough world map in your head. I know there are a lot of fantasy books that are coming out with these maps, which is fantastic, and I love it. And yes, there will probably be a map for my book because I do a lot of globe trotting in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Sorcerer's portals are a good thing.
Yep.
um, but you know, it's a fantasy world, but you have to give readers something concrete that they can relate to, and the biggest thing for me for that is geography and making the geography make sense. Unless there's like a specific reason for something, that like some kind of magical reason that this piece of the world is the way it is, making the geography make sense is going to be one of the best ways for your readers to understand what's going on. Like, you're not
Yeah.
going to put a desert right next to a forest that, like,
Yeah.
a huge lush overgrown forest, because that's not. I mean, I'm not a geographer. I don't know. Maybe there is a reason for it, but I don't know one off the top of my head.
An oasis.
um I meant
But that's
like,
like one
okay,
little spot.
I meant like, the freaking forest, evergreen forest. That's what I was trying to go
Yeah.
for.
Like evergreen
You know
forest, boom, sand, desert.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, unless there's like a magical reason, like there's a barrier around this forest or something to keep it evergreen, it's not going to make sense.
Yeah. That is
So
true. That is true.
that
So,
is a good reason to have a map.
yeah, yeah, it is. Like I said, being able to figure out where everything is at helps you as much as the reader. So,
Yeah, because you could also be like, where was that village I slaughtered again? I don't remember.
so next on the
Oops.
planning is story road mapping. So, we could start with outlining, which no clue. I do
Outline
not
is
outline.
generally outlining is generally the one most people think of, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the same way you outline your college papers for English class.
Yeah.
You have your major points, you have your subpoints, the subpoints below that, any notes that need to go in with there. Some people can map out a full book and stick to it. I can map out a full book. I can't stick to a summary, I found out. For a short story, no less.
It happens. And like I
I
told
already
you,
deviated,
creative liberties.
right? It's just
um
inspiration.
yeah, which I mean, I probably could benefit from outlining, but again, I don't think I would be able to stick to it if my life depended on it. So, mine is very much like point A, point B. Get there
So,
somehow.
one thing that outlining really is good for, though, even if you can't stick to it, is you can go back and look at it. And I'm not saying, look at it every 5 seconds as you're writing, but,
Yeah.
you're on a roll, you're on a good roll, and you got a few chapters written, and you hit a pause point for whatever reason, and you can go back and you're like, oh, let me just look at the outline, and you'd be like, oh, I do need to have this event happening because this is going to influence this later, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
you can be like, okay, I do need to make sure that comes in at some point. And then there's other parts of the outline that are superfluous, and you're like, that was just flavor, you know.
Yeah.
So it's definitely useful if you are that kind of person for that kind of planning to have. And then sometimes you're like, well, that character did not agree with that choice, so that event will not happen.
Yep. They're like, no, I don't
That
think
whole
so.
epilogue I already wrote is not going to happen.
Gotcha. Okay. So then
Um,
there's the rough roadmap, which
that's yours.
mine, it's very much okay. I know I want this event to happen at some point. I just have to get from here to there somehow. And that's very much how I work. It's okay, I'm writing. I know I've thought of this scene to happen and I want it to be in the book because I feel like it would be a turning point or to further the plot. So I'm going to have to figure out how they get there. And sometimes there's some fluff, sometimes there's some smut, sometimes there's, I don't know,
A lot of smut.
stuff. Yes. um, but that's the rough roadmap is you have one key thing that you know you want to happen and just trying to fill in the gap from A to B or A to C. B's in the middle. Um, apparently I don't know how alphabets work. Um,
That's concerning.
just a little bit. But just that's the rough road mapping is knowing a key things that you want to happen that you know need to happen essentially and just getting there.
How I see that a lot of times for people too is think about you're holding a dart, and that's your point A,
Mm-hmm.
and you throw it at the dartboard, and that's your point B.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 points that you know.
Yep.
Whatever happens in between is what the characters decide.
Yep. Very much. At least that is for me. I'm like, I'm just along for the ride. I'm just here to take notes for you guys.
You're just there for the vibes.
Yep. I'm there for the vibes. Which then brings us to the major events, right? That kind of goes hand in hand with the rough story mapping, but it does with outlining too. You have these major events that you're like, I know this needs to happen so we can get to the next point. That is going to be
It's
another
like,
major point.
for those of you who remember actually plotting out trips on physical paper maps, it's going
It's
to
been
be
a hot
silly.
minute.
It has been a hot minute. It was fun.
It
It's,
was.
you're like, okay, I'm going from Kansas City to Washington, D.C. What major cities am I hitting on the way?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that to me is what that major events are, because you're like, okay, I'm hitting this, I'm hitting this, I'm hitting this, I'm hitting this. Now, the little detours to see the largest ball of twine on the way, you only see that when you're doing the actual outlining, or when you're actually writing it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is Kansas City, St. Louis. I don't flipping know because I can't carry the map of the U.S. in my head all the way to Washington, D.C.
It depends on the route. Let me tell you. You could hit
And
Indianapolis or you're hitting like Lexington, Kentucky. It depends on the route.
that's how you want to go through the mountains, really.
Yep.
Um, oh yeah, you would. Anyway,
I know. I've
uh,
driven it both ways.
why did my brain just blank on that piece of
Yeah.
information? That's what it is to me, though. Is it's the major cities that you hit on the way. It's not all the tiny little towns. It's not all the tiny little sightseeing that you want to do. It's not that one horse town you stop out for gas and desperately jump in and out of your car because you're not sure what's going on in that gas station. It's
It's a little sketchy, and you're like, but I gotta pee.
so it's that to me is what the major events are. It's the big points that you're going to hit along the way. And you know what? Maybe your route changes. Maybe that you hit construction and you're like, well, screw that route. I'm going the other way now.
Yep.
It can still
And I feel
happen.
like that a lot has to do with characters. They're like,
Yes.
nope, skirt, we're going this way instead.
Bye bye.
Yep. So, next on the planning would be world building, right? And this is where it can get very fun, but also can be very overwhelming. So, having, a system can help
There
with
is
planning it.
a caveat to this for me too. It's also going to depend on the genre
Yeah.
that you are writing, on how detailed and complex. If you write high fantasy, as in high element of fantasy, you're in another freaking world. Think Lord of the Rings or
Earth doesn't exist.
Wheel of Time. You
Yep.
know, does Earth exist in Wheel of Time? I don't know. I've never read it.
No, I
Anyway,
don't think so.
you're going to get a lot more involved in this world building because you are, in a way, building everything from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're in a contemporary rom-com novel, you're not going to be having to get you're going to be building a more intimate world because you're building a world around your characters, all your major cities, all of your where's they fly, all of your coffee shops, your chain store restaurants, your economy. It's you're going to be pulling from that uh that knowledge source. So it
Yeah.
is kind of good to know what genre and what story you're writing to help you decide um how much of this world building, or you can see that stupid fly flying around my head. uh
Oh, I know. We've had them too. It drives me nuts. It's like, oh my god! Every time you open the freaking door, one flies in, and you're like, God. But
so
yeah,
anyway, that is why I cut you off a little bit. I wanted to but make sure to have that caveat in there so that we're not saying you have to build your world up from scratch no matter what you
yeah, yeah,
write.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's
No, and I mean, even when you are doing something like contemporary, that doesn't mean you have to set it in like New York City or a specific spot. You could still build your world, but it doesn't have to be as intense, right? They're still using dollar bills. They're still on Earth. There's still traffic lights. We don't have magic here. So you could still build your cozy little small community if you want, but there's that added element of, okay, well, we know where we're at in the physical, even if your little world doesn't actually exist. There are already rules that we know of if they're on Earth, versus high fantasy where you're like, well, do they have gravity? I don't fricking know. Like, you know what I mean? It could be that
It's
simple,
a good
because if
point.
it is sci-fi, if it's sci-fi out on a different planet, do they have gravity? Do they have water? Like, so it can, the detail of your world building will depend on your genre. So I agree with that. Um, and then our first one was detailed maps. So
So we
again,
started with the world map. So
yeah,
now this is going into you're going to start adding all these bits and pieces. You're going to do uh the family circus path
yeah,
on your map to see where your characters are going, and you, in my mind anyway, you start building it out from there, because
yeah,
the more most important places to know are where your characters are going to be. Is it really cool to know about that city across the sea that is referenced once or twice? Yeah, but you need to know where you're going to be.
yeah. And then the next one, which I've seen great, and then some that are like, that didn't make sense. And it comes with magic systems. So some people are fantastic at creating magic systems that are so well thought out. And then there's others that you're like, how? Why? What is this? What does this mean? Like, I don't get it. um, but that's also a fun thing to build, which is your magic systems. Do they, use magic and they can't replenish it without rest? Are they pulling from nature? Are they pulling from their souls? Are they naturally inherently magical and they just don't run out and it's just overflowing? They could tap into it whenever. So those little things you kind of have to plan out, or the magic system kind of doesn't work.
And I know it's magic. I get it. I know a
Yeah,
lot of people are like, but it's magic.
it's fake.
Anything we write is going to be interpreted by a human being, and thus we need to appeal to a certain point to a human being's way of thinking. If you're like, but I'm not writing a human being, okay, guess what, your story skills getting read by one,
Yeah,
and we want some kind of logic. Now you can give us all kinds of logic, we'll accept a lot of different things. You have to give us something
yeah,
to make it make sense. And like you said, do they need rest? Do they have a specific way of pulling their power? Do they have all the things that you said? You need to tell us what
yeah,
is going on. Do you need to go into the nitty gritty of how each spell is set up? And I do, because to me it's fun. No, you don't have to. It's
yeah,
fun, but you don't have to. Um, but you need to give us something. We need some kind of way to follow what this magic is doing.
yeah.
That said, this is totally useless advice if you're writing a book that doesn't have magic.
Yep, that
But
is true.
as people who write fantasy books, it's important to us.
It is, yes. Even if it is, just a smidgen of it. Like, you still got to know something. You got to give the readers something to hold on to. Like you said, there needs to be some logic behind it. Even you can explain it however you want. You can logic it out for us, but you got to give us, like you said, something, right? Like yours is an elemental mage, so they can do things with the elements. We're like, okay, cool. Show me. I believe
Yeah,
it now.
exactly.
Where if you don't tell them that and they're just start doing stuff, you're like, what the hell is going on? What is she doing? Like, if there was no explanation on the different types of mages and why one can do one thing and the other can't, you're like, okay, this is not connecting. I'm confused. So
Yeah,
it
like, and
definitely helps.
I literally have a whole chapter about why these two types of mages can store magic for later purposes, and
Yeah.
this kind of mage can't.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to give some kind of logic to it, which it kind of goes into another element in how your people appear. Like,
Yeah.
literally, in my world, you know someone is a mage when they have long hair that's put up in braids.
Yeah.
You're like, that's a mage. That's a witch.
They got magic. I know it.
And you would be right 2 out of 3 times, except the third kind of mage doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So I literally have a whole chapter, and so that influences a lot about your world to me, because that can influence how your characters dress, how they wear their hair, how they travel, how they communicate with animals,
Yeah.
all of that can. So you need to have an understanding of your magic system so that you can portray your characters accurately, in my mind. And
Yeah.
that
I
was a
mean,
whole
even
soapbox.
even in my books, right? In the second book, one character is telling another, like, yes, witches typically run on the female side in my books. So it's a female led situation. Now, can men do witchcraft and have magic? Yes. But they also explain it as, well, we naturally have this ability and it's easier for us. Not saying they couldn't, but it just takes a lot more effort and time and practice and intentions, for them to
Mhm.
also be able to do just a smidge of what they can because they just naturally have that ability. So, and it's that little piece of information that you're like, oh, okay. So that's why most people don't have magic and why women have it and so on and so forth. So it's those little pieces that kind of give more structure to your story.
I'm going to say one more thing on the magic system, then I promise we can go on, because another, it's important to me.
It's important to us. We are fantasy writers.
Another piece is what kind of tools your characters will utilize. Like, my
Yeah.
characters carry around staves with inscribed into them, because that is part of how they use their magic. Or they carry, what tools they carry and what tools they use will can influence how. I know you have a tool that comes up later that really influences how they use their magic. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an important thing to remember too, is these characters tools, what are they carrying with them at all times?
Yeah.
you know that's a part of your character.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
Next would be the economy, right? That can be a huge element in planning and how your story plays out. Is this a prosperous area? Are they poor? Are they, in the middle of a war? Those things can all determine the economy and how money works and how your characters make decisions. Because if your character is broke, they can't just, do whatever they want because they have no money. That can play a big role in how your characters move throughout their world.
And I think that's just as important in writing contemporary as much as fantasy, because
Mm-hmm.
there's different economies in different areas. You get the rural, out in the middle of nowhere, Black Hills, with one room schoolhouses hanging around, or you get to, I don't know, New York, Chicago.
These
it's going
elaborate
to be a
private
different
schools.
economy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that it's still important to know the economy that your character is in, even if they are using dollar bills and banks and credit cards.
Yep.
How much are on those credit cards? Have they
And,
maxed out their credit cards?
and it's funny because I don't think people realize how often money is brought into books because it's such like it's not something we just constant. I mean, we do think about it, but it's something we don't actively think about. It's something that, oh, well, they're going to go to the coffee shop. They're going to do this, or they barely have enough money to pay their rent, so they have to go get a second job. Like, money plays a huge part in books. The billionaire, right? Like, it's from one end to the spectrum to the other, and it can be a whole book essentially, the whole
And it's
storyline.
also true, even in, like you said, what kind of, not just in the character's economic status, but the economy itself. Are you
Mm-hmm.
setting this just after World War II? Is this right before World War I? Is this, you know, how is the economy been impacted by these literally world changing events?
Yeah,
You're going to write a different story set in Japan after a nuclear bombing versus Victorian England when Queen Victoria is at the height of her power.
yeah,
So that's just something to think about too.
yep. And the next for world building is religion, which I feel
That's a
like
fun one.
this, huh?
That's a fun one.
Yeah, and I feel like this can be in a book. It doesn't always end up in world building. Like, I know for me, it it is very talked about very little when it comes to religion.
It depends on your definition of religion too.
True, that is true. But that could also be one of those things that whole storylines and books are written on, of one religious faction versus another, or how one religious faction is changing its world and how the characters are moving through it again. So that is also something to consider. Are these characters religious? Are they not religious? Are they escaping religious persecution? Are they their religious is very open and loving? Or it can dictate a lot.
And I think it's also important to consider there's a lot of people, and I have nothing against these kinds of stories. I love these stories, but they're doing a lot of mythology retellings.
Yeah.
And you need to know. You can't, okay, you can, but it's not wise. Just go off on what pop culture is saying about the Greek pantheon. There's a lot more to it
Oh yeah.
than what we learn in middle school.
There's definitely a
So,
lot of research to do, especially when tackling mythology, because one, that is someone's religion. But two, getting it wrong is like, oh my god, brain fart.
I'm not sure where you're going with it, so I can't help.
I was going somewhere, and then it was like, nope.
Like you said,
But
it's someone's religion. You need to respect it.
yeah, but there's also a lot of historical evidence. That's where I was going. There's a lot of
There you go.
historical things. So taking that deep dive and reading the historical stuff from what people actually thought back then, and I'll tell you, Greek mythology is messy. It is so messy. And they can't get mad at me for saying that, because it is true. They are
Oh, they'll be the first
messy.
to admit it.
Oh yeah. And the thing is sometimes the ties are so deep between one god to the next, to the goddesses, to the humans, the demigods. So doing your research is very wise in that area. I know a lot of people think, well, I could just take these gods and play doll with them, and it's like, well, not all the time. No.
And I know we've really focused on Greek mythology, and that is because that is probably just the first example that came to my mind. But you need to show the same respect no matter what pantheon that you
Oh
might
yeah.
want to, as you put it, play dolls with, whether you're doing the Egyptian or uh, the
The
Japanese
Hindu or
pantheon or the
Shinto
Chinese
or
Hindu. Yeah, any of
yeah.
that. And I'm probably not even naming the correct ones because I have not done that research. So I will not be playing in them anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot. There is a lot, and just do the research.
Do the
that
research. Yes.
end of that is
Respect
it.
the
And
source.
yeah, and I know we say Greek mythology or even Roman, because a lot of the times people like to toss them around like they're almost the same, and they're not. But we use those as examples because those are the ones I've seen the most of, right? We see the Persephone and Hades done over and over and over again. You know, we see Aphrodite often. So just making sure you do the research is just wise.
Personally, I think we have Rick Riordan to thank for that, but I can't be mad because I think he really did do the research.
I mean, if you do it and you do it well, then that's great. But I think, you know, I've seen a lot with Persephone and Hades, and some of them are well done, and others I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that one. That's I don't think so.
All of that said, it is
Yeah.
also just important to know what, if you're going to bring religion into your book, whether it's a contemporary Judeo-Christian religion or one that you've entirely made up, you need to think about how that's going to affect the rest of that culture in your book, because if it's important to the culture in your book, then you're going to need to know it,
Yeah.
whether it comes out in detailed format in your book or not. You need to know what's going on in that religion, because you know what's the most fun part about that? It's figuring out what swear words you can pull out of it.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's true. You've gotten some good ones. But
Yes,
also
it's been
there
fun.
also needs to be, like we said with the magic system, there has to be a little bit of logic involved too. You know, some things just got to make a little bit of sense so
Give us
readers know
just give
what's
us a
going on.
crumb.
Just a morsel of a crumb. Like we got to know something, you know. So the next thing would be full outlines on how detailed you go. Are you doing like full just boom outline? You
Are you
know,
making a 10-page outline?
yeah, it couldn't be me. More power to you if you can.
Here's
Kudos
just
to
two
you.
lines.
Mine is, yeah, I got like 3 sentences and I'm like, that's where we're going. Let's do it. Like, that's as far as my planning goes.
Clear for takeoff.
Yep. I mean, if I showed you some of the book ideas I have like little, it's literally like 2 sentences. Like, man meets woman in a bank. She sees him at an art gallery later. And that's it. That's all I got to go off of. And I'm like, well, all right, let's
What was
make
that
this
about?
work. I don't know, but hey, we're going to make this work. Apparently, they're going to fall in love somehow.
I mean, that's the logic. There you go. Thank you. There's our morsel.
Yep, that's the morsel. Well, they're going to fall in love somehow. I don't know how. We haven't been there yet, but we'll find out.
But yeah, like you said, it's however detailed you want to make it, and you might make it a full page, you might make it 3 sentences, you might hit somewhere in between. And another thing to really consider with this is are you outlining one book? Are you outlining a trilogy?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going, this is going to be a 7-book series? So
Bless them.
no. I same. I think in trilogies, that's just the way I go.
Yeah.
Um, so keep that in mind as you're writing this outline, because you may be like, oh, I'm outlining for one book. 20 pages later, you're probably not, unless you literally just wrote the book, you're probably not going to be fitting all of that into one book. So
Yeah.
be ready to know when you need to break that apart into more than one book, because we can only take so much.
Yeah. Let me tell you, those, I mean, I've read those 700-page books, and boy, whoo, that's a lot. So
Yeah.
sometimes they need to be 2 or 3 books. And you can make a very detailed outline. And I guess if you're someone that follows it like to the letter, you may be able to get everything in one book. But chances are you're probably going to veer off a little bit. There's still going to be events between, these little sections, and that can really add up. And, next thing you know, like you do have a trilogy and you're like, oh shit. Okay.
Because no matter how well you planned, you're probably not writing every single piece of dialogue that is happening And as you write the dialogue, it's amazing what comes out of these characters' mouths.
Oh
And
yeah.
one sentence can derail your entire outline.
Oh yeah. That, and
So,
even just like actions. Like you're not writing every action they take, the movements, the you're making just like, the bullet points of, okay, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen in this chapter. Well, between all those things, it could be a lot. And like you said, one dialogue can just pew, we're going sideways with it. So, and I think also, creating timelines is another way of helping with outlines. I mean, I have two literally sitting right here, especially when you're dealing with people in different times and how those will line up. Having one group in one area and another in another, and if they're in different worlds, like for example in mine, at one point there's people here on Earth and the time moves differently than on this other world. 3 days past there and it's still one day here. So you have to sit there and think, okay, how is this lining up? 3 days here, one day here. Timelines can get really messy really fast if you're having time variations, and how are they going to meet back up can be kind of a lot.
oh, I'm going to throw this out there. If anyone wants a good example of following multiple timelines that fit so well together at the end, and you're like, this all makes sense now, in your start, the fifth season by, I'm going to forget her name, and I'm so sorry. It's really, really good. But the fifth season, I'm going to put the author's name because I don't
We'll put
remember
it
it right
down.
now.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it down. The fifth season is really, really good, and it's multiple timelines, and just the way she brings it together at the end, and you can kind of see where it's going, and you get that. Anyway, very, very good example of how to handle timelines in a book.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent example.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you can't have that timeline tracked out on how characters will re-meet up, sometimes it can get lost. And you're like, wait, when did this happen? Why are they here? How long did this take? So, there's also been times where I've read books where they're like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. And then the next day, I'm like, the next day? This all happened in 24 hours? There's a disconnect. So sometimes having a timeline, you're like, can all this fit in a day? Can it fit all in a week? That can also help, even if you're not dealing with multiple timelines. Just having a realistic, okay, did this all happen in one day? Because I know there was times when I was writing and you read it and you're like, wait, this happened in all one day. Are you
Wait a
sure about
second.
that? And I'm like, let me go back and check that. So that can also help, is if there's a lot of things happening, sometimes giving your reader, this has all happened within a week or 2 weeks have passed, or just to kind of keep things in order, because we like
And I know,
chronological stuff.
and I know we're saying this in the planning session, and I'm gonna clarify something. Planning doesn't stop once you start writing the book. Planning
Mm-mm.
is going to keep happening until your book is published. And even
Mm-hmm.
then, you might still be planning if you're writing a sequel. I'm
Yep.
writing a sequel. I have 4 different groups of people that I'm trying to keep track of, and keeping them all on that same timeline so that you're not like, well, when did that happen?
Yep.
So when we're talking about this planning in this book writing arc episode, we're talking about all of it, not just what you plan up until you start writing the story. No,
Yeah.
planning never stops.
And if you're a pantser like I am, the planning is always happening. Like no matter what. Even when I'm going back to do revisions, I'm still going to be thinking, okay, well this happened, does this line up with later? Does this need to change because of this happening? The planning is, it's always going on. Like even if it's not on paper, it's happening up there. So,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Well, that would bring us to our witchy tip of the day, which
Yay.
is spell jars. I do love a good spell jar.
I actually, for as long as I've been practicing, only just made one last Beltane. Was the first time I made one.
Okay.
And I think it's just because I'm such a perfectionist about things. I'm like, I have to make sure everything is just right. And that's
Yeah.
where we differ.
Yep. And spell jars, I mean, you can get the ingredients you want, but it's just like shove it in there and hope for the best. Which I'll tell you, I did one, what was it? When my husband was going on recruiting duty and they were like, well, you have these options. Oh, I did a spell jar and I was like, ooh, I want to get, we wanted Missouri so we could be close to his family. So I was like, okay, I like burned a map and I was like, okay, we want these pieces and we're going to shove them in here with some fucking ingredients. And I wax sealed it and everything, like the whole 9 yards. It worked. We got exactly where we wanted. So.
And then you sometimes you
And that was a spontaneous one. I did not plan it. It was, we heard what we were doing and I was like, okay, I need a map. I need some ingredients. Let's do this like right now. So
and then so yeah, my Beltane, I like looked up what ingredients I had on hand. I looked up the meanings of them. I was like, what does this align with what I'm wanting to do? I took probably a week to set that up and it worked. I mean, it mostly got me where I wanted it, and if not all the way there yet, it's well on its way towards everything that I was working for with it. But yeah, it's, or you can just like whatever event you may be celebrating. A
mm-hmm.
sister witch of mine, we just did solstice, and she's like, okay, this is the general meaning of what you want to do on solstice. All of these ingredients have some kind of correlation to this. Pick and choose what feels right to you, and that's a way to
Yep.
do it too.
Oh yeah. And it doesn't even have to be for something as specific as what I did. You know, it could be just something for abundance or protection. It could be just very broad. Yes, very broad. It doesn't have to be for a specific reason. I mean, they can be as specific or broad, like I said, as you want.
I will say I agree entirely about it. You can have it be very broad, you can have it be very general. That said, I am firmly of the belief that you need to have some kind of intention behind it. You don't want to just throw plants in a jar and be like, okay, I did it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have some kind of intent of, okay, this I just need a fresh start. I need a little bit of a sign for the path that I'm. Am I on the right path? Have something. To me, it's a
Yeah.
lot like when you're doing a reading. Have something there that you're aiming for. Even if it's a general, how's my life going? Check.
Yeah.
Don't just, because if you don't have some kind of traffic cones up, you never know what's going to drive into your lane.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, although asking how your life's going, I feel like that's more of a divination question than a spell jar. But
Yes, agreed. I was
yeah.
more just have something.
Yeah, but there needs to be some type of intention, whether it's as broad as protection or abundance or bringing prosperity into your life. People do money jars all the time, you know. But yeah, it can't just be like, well, I'm just going to take these ingredients and throw it in a jar and see what happens. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be
That
nothing. It's not going to
or
do a
something bad.
thing. Or something bad. I mean, if the intention is there and while you're making it, you're angry or whatever, watch out. Um, but always know what you're trying to do before doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have something there for it to give it a seed.
Yep.
Give it a morsel.
Yep. Got a crumb of a morsel, like we said. So
All right,
yeah,
I think that's
that
all I
is
had about spell jars. I would also
yeah.
suggest that you do double check the meanings of the ingredients that you're using just to make sure, unless you were 100% certain that you know exactly what that means, I
Hmm.
would at least just verify for your own sanity so you don't go look back at it later like I totally didn't mean to put that in there.
Yeah.
That's not what
And
I
I mean,
meant.
yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I've been practicing for freaking 10 years at this point, and I'm like, let me just double check that. I can use that one, right? Yeah,
There's
okay.
a reason we have a grimoire.
Oh, yeah, 100%, because you don't remember everything, and there's so many correspondences and things that you can use certain herbs for. It can get to be a lot. There's why there's so many books written on it, because it could be a lot.
Mhm.
So, yeah, always double checking your ingredients never hurts. So,
Yes.
it's like the saying that carpenters use: measure twice, cut once. So, just double check just to be sure you're using the right
Yeah.
thing. So other factors to consider when planning, now that we're
Oh, back to the book planning.
back to the book planning now that we've given our witchy tip, is planning the length of your books.
This is actually a conversation we just had about short stories. We're like, what's the general length for a short story?
Yeah, I literally had to Google it because I was like, I don't know. I've never written a short story before, so this is new to me. Like, I've done the novella, and I'm like, okay, well, that's typically, they say technically 10,000 is considered a novella, but the broad range is what, 20,000 to less than 50,000, but words, I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, I
Not
don't know if I
pages.
said words. Yeah, not pages, words. So we had to look up, well, how long is a freaking short story, which we found is 1,000 to 7,500 words. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm probably going to be
How
hitting
far?
the high end of that because I write a lot. I like to give the
If that the next
details.
question was how far over that are we going to go?
Yep. Or we're like, well, it could just be a little bit longer short story. And okay, well, are we going to trim it back or are we just going to leave it longer? Because it is so short. I mean, that would take you what? Maybe an hour to read, less than that. I mean, that's like a novella, it's a couple hours. So a short story, 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Other
that's just something to
factors.
definitely
Oh,
consider.
sorry.
Is
Yeah.
no, it's fine. It's just something to consider depending on what you're writing. Are you Would I start out with that knowledge? No, I never did.
Mm-mm.
I'm not someone that keeps track of word count. In fact, I write in a tool that doesn't keep track of word count. If you ask me, I have to copy and paste it into a Word document to find out what it is. But if you're aiming for a specific type of material, like a novella or a novel, or what genre you're in, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, it's a good idea to have that for when you get to the end and they're like, okay, this is how many words I have. Oh shoot, I think this needs to be 2 books.
Yep. And genre can depend, genre can really decide how long a book should or shouldn't be. Because you look at horror and their word count for a novel is significantly lower than fantasy. Where fantasy is sitting at 110 to 120 on the high end, you're looking at 80,000 for a horror or less. So your genre can often determine how long your book should be. There's typically a sweet spot per genre. So that is definitely something to consider as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then in the next piece of the planning is, what genre are you going to put it in? You might have a general idea of it's going to be, rom-com. Okay, great. Where is it going to happen? So that can is it going to be a sci-fi rom-com? Is it going to be a fantasy rom-com? Is it going to be contemporary?
Yeah.
Just other factors to consider so you kind of have an idea of where you're going to be going with. My entire face is itchy tonight. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're
Um,
fine. And I'm like uncomfortable sitting in my chair right now. I'm like, oh my God, I can't seem to get comfortable. I keep moving.
so keeping that in mind too is it's just another piece of the planning, another piece of the puzzle that you need to figure out.
Yeah. And a genre, deciding a genre also can really determine, if you just have a single idea, you know, it can, hold on, let me think this through. The
Choose
genre
your
can
words.
yes, it's I know I had a point of the genre picking, but having like the single idea, the genre, like I said, could determine how many words, but a single idea and picking where it goes. You know what? I don't know where I was going. I was
Are you
trying to
going
make
for
it
the
work.
trope?
Not necessarily. It was more so
Okay.
like just having that single idea and trying to plan out where it would best go is is also part of the planning, right? Because like my book, for
Mhm.
example, there are some very gory aspects. So I could have taken that single spot where I'm like, okay, well, I want this to happen, or this was the idea. I could have made my book horror if I wanted to.
Mhm. Yeah.
I really could have, because of the gore and how, what's the word? It's just really dark in some spots where I've had people tell me like it was hard to read, it was hard to get through. So those little nuggets of, oh, I want this to happen can determine, okay, well, is it going to be this genre? Could this work in this one? That is also part of your planning. That's what I was trying to get through, but my brain was just stuttering. It was buffering.
And I mean, just because you have it set in one genre doesn't mean it's not going to cross over in another one. I mean, just
Yeah.
because we're seeing that now with romance and fantasy. I mean, it's the romantasy now.
Yeah.
You're seeing the fantasy no the romance novels being set in a fantasy world, which is great. I love it. We're getting more fantasy out there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean whatever plot you have can be a horror plot that takes place in a sci-fi world. Alien, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
So it's to just keep that in mind that just because you don't have to limit yourself to one genre, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say too.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Because, I mean, like I said, mine could have easily been horror in some spots. And, fantasy, typically, in fantasy, there's lots of fighting, there's lots of, you know, there could be gore depending on how much detail goes into it. I mean, there's some spots on yours that you're like, oh, Jesus. Oh,
I could be
that's
slaughter a
rough.
whole village.
Yeah, slaughtering a whole village in the first chapter, that's a little rough. So having those crossovers, is part of the planning too. Like, are you going to cross over and give more detail on certain things, or are you going to keep it pulled back so it fits nice and snugly in one genre versus overlapping?
All right,
Okay,
so
so
the next thing on the list.
yeah, would be tools that you use. So this would include, your word processors. I use Novelpad. It's something that I really like, but I know one that's very popular is Scrivener, which I couldn't get behind. I was like, oh my God, this UI. Oh, it's so much. And that everyone will tell you when you start using it, it can be a lot to take in at first. So that was something I was just like, oh, nope, I need a simple UI. So I went with Novelpad.
And then you have the archaic one who still uses Microsoft Word Processor and OneNote to write. So I don't have any of the handy chapter planning or
Yeah.
timeline or drag and drop. No, I have tried. I really have sort of. I
Um,
can't. I'm set in my ways, and it's
and
just
that's
not worth
fine.
the time to me. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I
deciding,
mean,
what to go with. Or do you want to
yeah.
try something new? Are you
I
already
mean, I wrote
comfortable
my
working?
yeah. I was just gonna say
Sure.
I wrote my first book in Google Docs, which now everyone's saying don't do that. because, you know, they
Yeah,
like to
for
feed it to
reasons.
their AI. But yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as Google Docs, don't recommend, or Word, or, you know, getting those fancy writing softwares and really using all the tools that you have at your fingertips. I
Disposal.
couldn't think of the disposal. There we go. I was like, my brain went to exposal. I'm like, that's not a word. I'm just gonna say this: we are filming at midnight right now. My brain is it's on the verge of just shutting down.
It's totally my fault. I had a family dinner.
No, no, no. It's totally fine. Family comes first for sure.
So yeah,
Um,
just and the tip that I found with this also is give yourself 30 minutes before you even attempt to write and setting these tools up. Get familiar with the UI, get familiar with where you're going to save this stuff, have that all set up. And so then when you're ready to sit down and actually write, you just write.
so next one would be other factors, you know, are doing a summary, knowing a basic, okay, what is the story going to be, you know? And I tend to do this a lot because it's just a few sentences of, okay, the general plot line of what's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. And it is something that can be helpful if you can't really get it out of your head. Just being able to jot it down in just summary form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it can be a paragraph, it can be a couple of paragraphs. Heck, it
Mm-hmm.
could be a page, depending on how long the story's going to be. And
Yeah.
as you said earlier, it doesn't mean you have to stick to it, but you've got it down so that you
Yeah.
can reference it for later if you want.
And sometimes, I mean, it's that story that'll just keep bugging you day and night, and it won't stop until you're like, okay, finally, I will just write it down. I will write it down so it will get the hell out of my head so I can think about something else. I mean, that happens a lot too.
So connected to this, to me, in my mind, is what a lot of people call the elevator pitch, and this is really hard for some people, and I know that, and I'm not saying that you have to do this, but like you said, you had one summary. It was two sentences.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The elevator pitch. Make it however short you need to, just to get it out of your head or get something down on paper. You do not have to do this at all. This is not. It's really really difficult for some people, especially for authors that write
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, it could be useful because at some point you are going to have to market your book. And sometimes you may only have two sentences, three sentences to say, okay, this is what my book is about, and give enough detail that it captures someone to read your book. And I mean, those elevator pitches are eventually going to be your marketing. And if you do go trad, those sometimes that's they want, okay, pitch it to me in two sentences. Like give me
Mhm.
what it's about. And if you freeze up and you're like, "Oh, poop, I don't know." You know, having those in your back pocket will be helpful. You know, I've been stopped at a mall and I mentioned that I was an author and they're like, "Oh, really? What's your book about?" And I'm like, "Oh, no." I'm like, "Okay, well, how much time do we have?" No.
give me
So
give me a time
having
limit.
right? So having those little elevator pitches will come in handy when someone asks you, "Hey, what's your book about?" Which will happen because you're an author and
Mhm.
you have to be
Especially
able
if
to
you bring it
tell
up.
them and sell them quickly, you know, because sometimes that's all you have is that one elevator pitch. So, yeah. And then next would be knowing who your audience is. You know, that's a big part of writing. Who's your target market when you're writing this? You know, mine certainly was not children. So,
I concur on my books as well. Not
you
children.
know, you have to know your audience and who you're writing for. If you're writing for kids, you know, you can't be throwing the dictionary at them, you know. I mean, unless that's what they're
Or other
looking
things.
for, or adult things, you know. And if you are, don't do that. Stop it.
Please
Um
don't. Don't
don't do
market your
that.
book like that.
Yeah. Cuz I don't know how many times I've seen, you know, full on smut books advertised as young adult, which is typically under the age of 18 and you're like, No. That's naughty. Don't do that. So knowing your audience is also going to play a part in marketing and how you write your book and what you're going to include in it. So that's also another thing to consider while planning out writing your book.
Because that's going to give you your boundaries too. You're going to be like, oh, you can go, oh wait, no, I'm trying to market this towards, and maybe that'll change.
Yeah.
As you go, you're like, this is turning into a much more adult story than I realized it would. I need to
Mm-hmm.
conform back to what I'm trying to say with this story, and my initial target audience isn't going to work. It's going to be not something suitable for that age range. So I'm not saying
Yeah.
you have to stick to it. But we never say you have to actually stick to anything that you plan.
Yeah. Oh, no. It could all change. Everything can change. But, having an idea of who your audience is before you start writing kind of helps. I knew I was writing for an adult, adult. So there's a lot of F bombs. There's adult content. And it's not like minor adult content. It is very detailed. So
Yes.
knowing ahead of time, like, this is not for children, this is going to be, marketed towards older adults too. Like, I don't even think I would feel comfortable giving this to my 19-year-old niece. Like, nope. You got to be in your 20s, mid 20s and up. Like, um, so knowing that there are certain creative aspects that you can put in or take out. So, there is that to
And
consider
it's
too.
also good to know your target audience also with the genre that you're working in, because I know when I started writing, a lot of the fantasy that was coming out was really being targeted towards YA audiences. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying in my head, for a very clear boundary, this is not a YA book. This
Yeah.
is never going to be a YA book, because the themes and message in this book is not suitable for that audience. These are mature, over 100-year-old people
I mean,
who
unless
have
you
had a
consider
lot of
one
life.
specific character that is not necessarily mature.
It's fair.
But
Um, that they got a lot of life experience under their belt, and that is, could someone in the YA audience read it and vibe with it? Yeah, probably, but that's not who I wrote it for.
yeah.
So yeah, I remember thinking to myself, because I started writing this when like, I can't even say it, Throne of Glass came out
Mm-hmm.
and was really getting popular, and we were getting that deluge of YA fantasy, and that's when I started writing. And I was like, I have to make sure that people know this is not a YA book. This
Yeah.
is more along the lines of like the Wheel of Time, Dragonlance, Mercedes Lackey Valdemar, Lord of the Rings. Even, I mean, this is an adult fiction fantasy. This is not
Yeah.
for those that don't have a lot of life experience yet.
Yeah. Because there are definitely topics, even, relationship wise, even if it isn't like, like in Mind the Smut, there are relationship aspects that do come up that really, as someone that is younger, really shouldn't even be touching, like, my characters are essentially in a polyamorous relationship, and I'm sorry, 18, 19 years old, that's a lot. You're still learning who you are. Trying to be in a relationship with multiple people is,
It's work.
it would be work. So there are definitely topics, even just relationship wise, or like you said, life experience, that younger audiences just may not be able to connect to.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely knowing your audience will help determine what themes you'll stick with, you know.
Yeah.
Um, which also means, there's going to be also research involved depending on what book, and knowing that ahead of time my first thought is historical fiction, right? If you're setting it in a certain time era, there's a lot of research that's going to have to go in to your book before you even writing, right? If you are putting it in World War II, because that's a very popular one to write in, or, you know, pirates have been coming up recently. Okay, well, you know, what time era was that in?
It's by what you exactly. That's a lot of time that you could set that in.
Exactly. It's like, okay, is it the end of piracy? Is it piracy today? Is it piracy, that we see often romanticized by places like Pirates of the Caribbean? Okay, well, what time frame was that? You know, there's a lot of research that goes into that. So that's another thing to consider. I've said that a lot this episode. That's something to consider. The tagline.
That's what planning is, though.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
It's stuff that you have to consider before, as, and after you write. Mm-hmm. All 3 stages.
Yeah, and like I said, there is a lot of research that goes into it, especially depending on genre. I mean, like sci-fi, I mean, that's a little more loose because it is futuristic, so but there is science elements, though. There are the science elements that
nerds.
Yeah, if you really go on the science heavy side of sci-fi, that is something you have to consider. You have to do the research. You can't start throwing out random science words and people are going to read it and be like, that's not what that means. Like, I could talk about quantum physics, but will I know what I'm talking about? Hell no. I could throw it out there and they're going to be like, what is this woman talking about? Yeah. So there is definitely aspects of research, and you will do research throughout the book, random things that come up from a character that you're like, oh wait, I don't know anything about that. I didn't plan on this. So now I have to go and do a deep dive for a week and read about stuff, or even if it is just an hour to find an answer to one simple question, sometimes you have to research a lot.
Get back on the little AI soapbox for a second here. I know a lot of authors will use AI to answer simple questions about things, mm-hmm. like what kind of camera model would I use in a jungle? I really, really strongly advise against doing that, because when you are doing research for things like that, you are going to find out smaller other things that AI didn't think was significant enough to tell you about, which could have a huge impact on what's going on in your novel. Mm-hmm. AI doesn't know your novel. It's going to give you that straight up answer that might even be wrong because it's just pulling from what popular resources are on the web or out there.
Yep.
Do your research. Even for those simple, what you think are simple, silly little questions that should be able, no, don't. Do your research, because you're going to find out all of those little, like, okay, maybe it told you that camera model would work, but what it didn't tell you is you have to have this specific kind of flash to work with it, which your character's economic status isn't going to let them buy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even those simple little things that you think, oh, that's just an easy question to answer, do the research anyway. It's going to just give more depth and more richness to your novel and make it that much more believable. And I will step off my soapbox.
Which brings us to timeline. And we're not talking timeline of what's happening in your book, but the timeline of how long things actually take. There are a lot of things to consider, again, when writing. How long is it going to take to research the time period you want to write in, or how long is the writing going to take? And that one, I'll tell you, is a huge toss-up. There's times where I wrote a book in basically a month, and then there's ones that I've started in 2023 and we're now in 2025 and I haven't touched it. So that is another thing that you kind of have to plan for. How long is editing going to take? How long is formatting and all this stuff? There's a lot of little things that you don't realize take so much time. So sitting down and saying, okay, well, I need to plan that I want to finish the book by this time. And also having realistic timelines too. You know, if you can write a book in a month one time, that doesn't mean that's going to be every time. You know, or because I know a lot of us do nano, or we did, where novel writing month is on November. And a lot of us can write that 50,000 word novel. Sometimes we can't, but that's not going to be every month, every year. That's nuts.
And I'm going to say this is equally important to traditional and indie authors for different reasons. Traditional authors are going to be getting held to these timelines by their editors, by their publishers, by their agents.
Yeah.
They're going to be getting held accountable by the outside forces. So making sure you can hold yourself accountable to this before you even get into that field is going to just be a huge help to you. And it's also going to be able to give you speaking too fast for my brain.
Yep.
It's going to help you give the people you're working with realistic expectations of,
Yeah.
this is how long I usually take, this is how long I usually take to do the writing, this is how long it takes to do the revisions, this is yada yada yada. As an indie author, can you change your timeline? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just did it at the beginning of this episode.
Yep.
That said, there's no one else holding you accountable to this. So you need to hold yourself accountable at some point. I changed my timeline because there's a lot going on. I'm not technically getting paid for this yet like a traditional author would be with an advance. And I have other things that I need to do. I'm going to do my damnedest not to make this a habit though, because that to me is unfair. And that to me, to a point, is going to be an unreliable author. People are going to be like, oh, this author said they're going to come out in October. Oh, well, they just said it's going to be November. Oh, now it's December. Oh, now it's Jan. You have
Yeah.
to hold yourself accountable
For the
your
gamers,
readers
that
to have
would.
faith.
I was going to say, for the gamers, that would be, you know, the very thing that's happening with GTA 6 right now. It keeps getting
Yeah.
pushed back and keeps getting pushed back. So, you have to be able to hold yourself accountable to some semblance, right? But you also have to give yourself some grace as well, because sometimes we set deadlines that are too strict, or we burn ourselves out, and then we're like, well, shit. I pushed myself, and now I don't want to touch anything for the next year. And now you're
Or
like,
life events happen.
yeah, and life happens. I mean, we were supposed to film yesterday. She has a birthday dinner. We push it back a day. Like, things happen in life, and that is one of the bonuses of being indie. When life happens, you can put a pause, right? You can hit that pause button and be like, okay, I will come back to this next week or next month, or, you know, but it is harder to stay accountable when it's just you and you know you have that leeway to push back the deadlines, which I'm a little guilty of. I have done it.
And I mean, it's also it's good to have the very first book you write, the very first book you very first book you publish. You don't know these timelines usually. You can plan,
Yeah.
you can try, but kind of keeping track of that and knowing, hey, it normally takes me this long. Oh, or normally take, because if you're writing a book, you publish it, and there's going to be a sequel, or your book ended on a cliffhanger, your readers are going to want to know.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to be like, okay, I know I'm going to take about a year to get from writing, starting the first draft of this sequel to feeling good enough at the end of revisions before I can publish it. Plus, you need to take into account character art, character design, cover design, interior design. As an indie, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you need to have an idea of how long this is going to take so that you can give an honest expectation to your readers, especially
Yeah.
if you're publishing in a series.
I mean, another good example would be R.R. Martin. Like, oh my God, people have been waiting for that last book forever. And people are saying, like, just at this point, it's never coming. But,
Yeah.
you know, you don't want to be that author. I mean, he has been successful enough that he can have that, but realistically, that's not going to work for everybody, you know, and leaving people on cliffhangers and constantly when's the next one coming? And you're just like, whenever.
I mean, that's why when Robert Jordan passed away, Brent, they literally brought in another author to finish it.
Yeah. So that could be done, for the.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that is a circumstance where I'm like, well, you know,
That wasn't really his fault.
it wasn't his fault, But yeah, I mean, it was good. That was something that really was a nice thing for them to do, to actually finish it for the
Yeah,
readers,
it
that
was.
they brought in Brandon Sanderson to finish, Wheel of Time. But yeah, having a timeline of knowing how long things are going to take for you as well as your readers, because once you get books out there, people are going to be asking like, hey, when's the next one coming out? Even if it is just your family, they're going to be asking, hey, when's the next one coming out?
Yeah,
So yeah.
for sure.
Which I'm pretty sure that wraps that up and would bring us to book reviews, which this
Yes.
week has been busy and I have not read anything. Oh man, except your stuff, but I can't really review that yet. So
No, you're not allowed. Same
I'm
as I
not
can't
allowed.
review yours yet.
Lips are sealed. So I'll hand it over to you. I will do better next week.
Oh, it's fine. Just hold yourself accountable. Jeez.
I know.
I'm
I will do
kidding.
better next time.
So I did a little bit of a different read this week, and it's actually been reading it for longer than a week because I did one of my rare audiobooks. I
Oh
know I
yes.
literally just went on a whole rant. And for those of you that aren't watching this, I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. The version of audiobook that I read was performed by Elizabeth Evans. It was the unabridged version. It was not a theatrical version at all. She did, I'll get into that in a little bit more, but I know I was the person that went on a rant that says, I want to hold it.
Yep.
I just got a job where I'm driving 40 miles one way. I
Yeah.
need something.
Yep, I can understand that.
So this is a 10 disc set that was produced by Brilliance Audio back in 2013. Um, I started Throne of Glass probably 7 years ago. I couldn't bring myself to finish it at the time. And Nicole's
Mm.
probably going, what? Because she knows how many books end up on my DNF list, and it's very small.
Oh, yeah. So it was a little bit of a shocker when you said I couldn't finish it, because I'm like, you pretty much finish everything you read, at least everything you've told me
Yep.
about.
Um, and I know I'm probably gonna get ripped. Okay, for those of you that don't know what Throne of Glass is about, it is the trope that is told is a Cinderella retelling, but she's an assassin.
Okay.
Um, the basic story is a 18-year-old girl named Selena Zardathian is an assassin who has been caught and put into a labor camp. And the king of that land has decided that he wants a king's champion who is an assassin to do his dirty work, basically. And he
Oh,
is holding
lovely.
a competition, right? I know. And they
Oh.
call it a king's champion. Anyway,
Oh.
um, and he is holding a competition, and different nobles of his court are sponsoring champions to participate in this competition, and Selena Sardathian is one of the champions who is being sponsored by the king's son.
Mm.
So he brings her back to this castle to participate in a like reality TV like competition where she is doing daily training and they have periodic tests. And then along the way, there's also something killing the competitors in this competition.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna go much beyond that. It's definitely heavily marketed as romantasy. It is YA. It's definitely YA themed. It is not to the level of smut. as the secret society by any means. Uh,
Oops.
so so romance set in a fantasy novel. I don't quite agree with that classification. I would put this in more of a high fantasy genre versus a romantasy genre, because the bulk of the plot is definitely focused on Selena's the competition. Selena's participation in the competition, her abilities, her way of doing things, how she wins the competitions, who her competitors are, the competition. There is a romance subplot, but I would not put this into the romantasy category personally.
Okay.
And the next thing I'm going to say, there's
Oh.
a reason I don't read books that are popular. I tend to not agree with the popular opinion. That said, it is my opinion. I do not expect other people to hold this opinion. This is just from through my lens.
Yeah. Don't eat us alive.
Yes, basically, that is what I'm asking. I don't think it's a bad book. I think it can be. It doesn't give us that morsel of logic
Ah.
that we're asking for. I think is my biggest holdback on this, because I understand she's an 18-year-old girl and hormones and
You're.
feelings and
Yeah.
emotions. They're all
18 years
very
old,
strong.
you do a lot of dumb shit too, so.
Yes. That being said, there is also enough psychological evidence out there that taking a human life does things to you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it can go in many different ways, but you are not a typical person unless you've had a lot of counseling.
Yeah.
And this girl has not had that. And it's been said she is literally the best assassin in the land, which to me, that's a high kill count.
Oh, yeah.
And to be acting like a typical 18-year-old girl just does not jive for me.
Yeah.
She's seen a lot. She is arrogant. She, to a point, has the abilities to back up that arrogance, but I will say she's not confident, she's arrogant.
Mm.
Um, but some of the things that she says and she does don't track
Gotcha.
with what my experience of research into and literally assassins is. And
Yeah.
you can only do so much realistic research into an assassin in this day and
Yeah.
age, because obviously no one's publishing their autobiography,
That's fair.
but you can do research into what it's like to legally take a human life.
Military
And people,
autobiographies would be a good point. Yeah.
that is where I went, specifically snipers
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
is where I went down my route of research. So, having done all of that research, having read the impact it has on these people, not only on themselves, but on the people around them, I don't feel like this reflects that experience in an in an honorable way, frankly.
Yeah. So it's very
I think
much,
it's being held very lightly.
yeah.
That impact is not really, and maybe this is just because, I'm not saying just, maybe it's heavily influenced by the fact that I'm a witch, but I really do consider all life sacred, and
Mm-hmm.
every life, no matter what it is, deserves to be treated with respect, no matter what they did in their life. and to take the loss of life lightly
Yeah.
is something I can't deal with. So there's my biggest. And then that said, okay, right, Captain of the Guard in this book has never taken a life.
What?
Captain of the Guard. Right.
How? That doesn't make sense.
There's a whole subplot about him never having taken a. You're Captain of the Guard, my man, of a
Is he
king.
Batman?
I don't know.
But even then, like, I feel like Batman would even though he hasn't physically taken a life, like, there's definitely repercussions. Like, they weren't walking away perfectly fine.
No, it's such a contradiction because I went on that whole spiel just now about how this character is treating the loss of life so lightly, and then this one is treating it so heavily, and how could. And it's not that I think it's changing how they're seeing the loss of life. It's changing in my mind. It's not giving you a realistic expectation
The
of this
psychology isn't
character's
lining
job.
up.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Well, I mean, just because I haven't read this book personally, but it sounds like it's definitely one of those characters that are like, okay, I'm going to kill everybody and then let's go paint our nails on Friday. Like, it's very, it doesn't click, you know? And I don't know
Now,
if that's
could there?
just us, but if you're going to kill someone, there's going to be some type of psychological damage on the person that's doing it. It's not so
Mhm.
black and white. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like I said, it's like, oh, let's go slaughter a village and then we're all just happy dandy going to go have brunch together,
Now,
you know?
if you tell me she's an assassin and she kills someone one day and goes and paints her nails the next day and goes for a mani-pedi, I'm going to say she's a sociopath, which
Yeah.
is fine. That's how a lot of it.
That could be a plot line though, but that would make
Right.
sense, you know?
Yeah, but there is no evidence of that. That
Yeah.
does not even hint that she could be a sociopath or a psychopath. There is definitely too much feelings and emotions that she's connecting to for that to be a possible plot line in my mind.
Yeah.
And even the past trauma that is brought up in this book, she doesn't do it badly, but she doesn't do it great either. And I also, if I remember right, this is her first novel. And I have
Okay.
read her Court of Thorns and Roses novel,
Mm-hmm.
which I fell in love with because it's a retelling of East of the Sun, West of the Moon, and I will die on that hill. But that is
I
why
was
I
not
love
a
it.
fan, but yeah.
Yeah, we've had that discussion.
Yeah.
But it's definitely more well written than
Mm-hmm.
Throne of Glass. The trauma that Era in Court of Thorns and Roses experienced definitely lines up more than what Selena does here.
Okay.
I'm gonna do one more nitpicky thing and then I'll be done.
Okay.
You know how I said do your research?
Yeah.
I have taken 2 years of martial arts specifically because I want to be able to write fight scenes accurately.
And you have held me to that too.
I have. Yeah. I'm like, this is not going to happen.
You're like, this would not work.
This is the idealized fighting. She did not do the amount of research that I have done.
Yeah.
And it bothered me.
And that's a point though. With comes planning, you are going to have those people that are going to read your book that could know martial arts and she didn't do the research and that showed to you because you're like, what?
Girl.
So to me, that may not have been a big deal, but for someone that does do martial arts, you know, they'll read that and be like, okay, well, this just instantly lost credibility to me because this doesn't make sense.
And for the people that are come at me that are like, well, she was using a weapon. I do Filipino martial arts. You can use weapons. You use a lot of weapons, and you can
Yeah.
transfer it to almost any weapon that you pick up. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
I know how to use a weapon.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
So that is my review. Would I recommend it? Probably not. I have absolutely nothing against the reader, Elizabeth Evans. I think she did an amazing job. It was very clear. There was never points where I was uncertain of what they said. I was never unsure of who said what. The one smallest gripe I had about it is she did truly do a whisper when it said it was a whisper, and I'm sitting in the car going, "What?" That's totally fair though. Um,
Yeah.
she did the different voices, she did the different accents for the characters. She was consistent, she had good tone. When it was sarcasm, she dripped the sarcasm. I mean,
We
it
love
was,
that though.
yeah.
Like a good
Yes, yes.
audiobook narrator. Oh, gotta love it.
So um and again, this is coming from my lens of audiobooks. I do not like the theatrical audiobooks. If I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read the whole book.
Yeah.
I have literally had the librarians be like, "Well, why didn't you like this one?" I said, "Because it's not unabridged."
Yep.
I am going through and looking through call numbers to make sure that it's unabridged because I want to read every single piece of this book.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's also some people that will read the book along with the audio. So that would make sense that, some people like the abridged and some like theatrical.
So if you want the unabridged version of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, I would definitely recommend this version, performed by Elizabeth Evans, put out by Brilliance Audio in 2013, I believe. Let me double
Mm-hmm.
check that I have it right. 2013. Um, it is 10 discs. I'm sure you can find it online. I like
Yeah.
to keep it in my car, so that's why I listen to CDs. Yes, I am archaic. I am aware. Hey, it's
Yeah.
not a cassette tape, all right? I literally just had a discussion with my family about cassette tapes today, so.
Man, that would definitely be, or like an A track. Oh
Mm-hmm.
Lord. Yeah.
So that is my review for Throne of Glass. I am sure I will have many people hating me in the comments for this, and again, this is just my opinion. This is why I don't tend to review popular books.
Yeah. I mean, I said I wasn't a fan of, A Court of Thorns and Roses, so I'm sure it'll come for me next. So
So, but
yeah.
I wanted to give it a fair shot because I know it's popular and books are popular for a reason.
Yep.
They just don't always align with what I like. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. That is just what I like.
Yep.
And I'm just being
And that's fair.
honest.
That's fair. So that brings us to the end of this podcast and where you could find us. I am on.
That's a good thing because they probably just turned us off.
They're just like up. um, so you can find this podcast anywhere you can listen to it. It will also be on Spotify and YouTube to watch. We have an official website now, which is writingwithwitches.com. Ooh. We have a Discord server. We also have Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Bluesky. I was like, I'm missing one. You can find all of them at Writing with Witches or on Instagram, Writing with Witches Podcast. And then I have my personal ones, which are also Facebook, Instagram, Bluesky, TikTok, Discord,
Goodreads.
YouTube. What else? Then I have my own personal website. And we also have our Goodreads accounts as authors. I have mine. I'm not sure if you have yours set up yet.
Not yet. I gotta get the ISBN done.
Gotcha. And you can also email me at author.nicole.autumn@gmail. And then I'm pretty sure that covers mine. So my spiel.
You can find me, Leona Urbansky, at all of the previously mentioned, except for TikTok. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Bluesky, and YouTube as Leona Urbansky, the author. I also have my own personal author site, and you can email me at leona.urbansky@gmail.com. I also I also have a separate book review. So if you want to hear me bash more popular books, you're more than welcome to come over and find me there. You can find me on Facebook, or I have a WordPress set up so that you can just get those reviews emailed to you so you don't have to go looking for them later. If you want to get a hold of us, you can also find us you can email us, at writingwithwitches@gmail.com. So, feel free to send us episode ideas or comments, or we will just delete the hate mail. Not gonna lie, if you just send us a bunch of curse words, I have no compunctions about just going delete on that one. Yep. So yeah, that's the end of this episode, and I think the last thing is kind of a little preview. We are jumping back out of the book writing arc next week, so we're going to be talking about do's and don'ts, what we have learned as authors.
Yes. There's a lot of those. I'll have to make
There is
notes.
a lot of those. That's a laundry list, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, it is. Well,
one last caveat real quick and then I'll stop.
Yep.
I know you said that the website is officially up now, and just so you know, we are filming this at the end of June. So by the time the first podcast drops, July 1st, the website will have already been up and running for you to peruse at your will. So don't think we have a new website as of when this podcast airs. It is up and running, I promise.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that will be all. So we will see you next episode for the do's and don'ts.
Bye-bye.
Bye.